All right, y'all, we're starting a 40 by 60 open span pole barn today. First thing I did when I got here this morning is broke out my long tape, measured all my poles, make sure everything was set right. The pole crew set these a couple days ago, so I just need to make sure everything was on point. Then I broke out my laser, got my common, ran it on all my poles so I can figure out my height. Then I measured my bolt holes so that we can cut and drill, and then we got the boys cutting and drilling. They got this side done. Now they're gonna start running down this side, and then we'll start hanging some trusses. All right, so we got all our trusses up, got our cross spacing on, got everything bolted. So when we're doing trusses, what I like to do is we'll hang this one, drive over, hang that one, and then connect them. There's been other times where if these poles weren't as tall on this 40 wide, I would just run this whole side and then come back, run that whole side, and then come back and connect. But when these poles are super tall, it's a little windy, I'd rather just jump back and forth. Now, when we're ready to do purlins, I already have one of my guys over here marking and cutting our purlins. We're gonna do our middle base first. So we cut all our bores to exactly 12 feet. We got a 2-inch mark on that side. So that's exactly, our buckets are 4 inches wide. So that's gonna be outside a bucket. And then we just mark our boards 142 and 144. 142 is our mark for our bucket, 144 is our cut. So we'll do all our middle base first. What I usually like to do is lock up all of our peaks. It's probably 8 boards, and then go down, do the poles, do 6 to 8 boards on the pole, come over, do 6 to 8 boards at the pole, and then fill in the middles. And then we'll measure for our 14s. Once we get our 14s up, I'll get y'all a video of how we do these outside base. All right, y'all, we got trusses and purlins completed. We're working on our plumb bob now, run a string from eave to eave pole, drop a plumb bob at the peak, and that's what we'll pull the peak of our building to. I had to pull the center. This is a 40 wide. If you've seen my other videos, the centers of these, anything above like a 30, are gonna have a little bit of a bow to them. So all I did is just hooked up a ratchet strap, heavy duty strap to the center of the bow, and then just strapped it to the pole. And I just eyeballed that, pulled it till it looks good. And then my eave was a little off, so I got another one running that way. These taller buildings, sometimes you got to pull these poles. That way you got a nice straight eave. And then we got the boys running a string line now. And we're just going to drop a plumb bob from the peak and pull the plumb bob to the string. And then you know your peak is on point and your building's pretty square. All right, y'all, we got half sheeted. This thing ran pretty damn close to perfect. We got it all strapped and ratcheted. So some people, when they're doing their metal, they'll run a string at the very bottom and they're just running their metal to that string and locking it up. The way I was taught to do it, the way I've always done it, is I'll run a bay, square at the truss, lock it up. Run a bay, square at the truss, lock it up. Our very first sheet will square. And that's how we run everything. If you're starting to run into trouble, there's something wrong with the building, because this should run pretty damn smooth. If your overhang's running funky, it's probably an eave pole needs to go this way or that way. If you put your back on the pole and you follow your truss line and a rib line, it should all, if you pulled your peak right, it should all coincide with each other and look pretty damn close. One thing I noticed you might run into is if your poles aren't set square, one side will run perfect when you put your back on the pole and look up, but one side's gonna kick because this whole line of poles is a little bit offset. That's what we ran into in the barn from Saturday. Everything wasn't square. If you're building square, your sheets should run smooth as butter. All right, this is a permitted building, so I got a lot of screwing. I got a lot of lap screws, but I'll show y'all when we get this other side up too. All right, finished roof, 40 by 60, 26 gauge Galvalume. This is a permitted building, so we got screw rows every 48, double top, double bottom, ridge cap every rib, and then we got lap screws every 2 feet. This one's got fascia, drip edge, and rake. I get y'all a quick shot of when I jump off the roof. All right, final video, finished product. If you made it this far in the video, I just want to tell you I appreciate you. Make sure to hit that like, hit that follow if you're not already a follower. And here's the finished product. 40 by 60 by 15. Galvalume roof, Galvalume trim. It's late in the day, but she's done. We're going back to an enclosure tomorrow. Y'all got any questions, leave them in the comments. I do my best to answer them. Nice straight looking Eve. I'll see y'all later.